Hey there, and welcome to today's episode where I'm going to be talking all about how to deal with people asking you to send them an email. So in this day and age, email can be our friend or our foe. We use it for marketing, we use it to communicate, we use it for contracts, we use it to talk to our friends. And quite often our inboxes are overflowing. And yet people still say to you, can you send me an email? So when does this happen? Well, there's a couple of times that I see this happening. The first is that if you're trying to talk to somebody and they don't want to have that conversation, quite often they'll say to you, look, can you just send me an email about it? That's a real challenge because what they're really saying is, look, I don't feel that there's value in us having a conversation. I want to get rid of you and I want to be polite. So what I'm saying is, put it on an email because that means I don't have to say that I don't want to talk to you. So that's the first time that we might come across this. So how should you deal with that? The way that I always deal with that is by saying yes, because the bottom line is that's what they want to hear. The thing is though, I then keep going, and that's the trick here. So if someone says to me, can you just send me it on an email? I'll say, absolutely, I can do that. What exactly would you like to see? Now that's really helpful because if they don't really know what it is that you do or why you're ringing, they're not going to be able to answer that question. So the great thing about that is that quite often people will say, oh, well, just whatever it was you were going to talk to me about. Then I normally reply and say, absolutely, I can do that. The key thing that I need to know in order to do that is, and at that point in time, I then ask some additional questions because I've said in order for you to get what you want, I need to know this. This can be really helpful because actually it means that you can ask some of your qualification questions right there at the front. The other thing is that once you start asking a couple of questions, quite often people will either fall into actually having a conversation with you, or alternatively they'll say, well, what is it about? Brilliant. That actually gives you permission to continue into your call and have the conversation you were originally ringing for. Now, the second time you might hear your prospect say to you, can you send me an email about that, is towards the end of the conversation. Quite often you'll have a conversation, you'll introduce your solution, and your prospect might say, that sounds really interesting. Can you send me some information about that? Or can you put that on email? That's great news on the one hand, because they want to know more information, right? The other side of that though is it's not great news because what they're really saying is send me an email and I will decide what happens with the rest of this sales process. Let's be honest, how many times have you sent an email and then just been totally ghosted? So how do you deal with this? Well, of course you want to send them the information. And remember, that email might go to more than one person in the organisation. So make sure whatever you put on that email, you're happy to have forwarded around other stakeholders within the business. I would still confirm with them exactly what is it you'd like to see on that email. And they will say, well, I would like this, I would like that, I would like the other. At that point in time, it's a brilliant opportunity for you to say, absolutely, I can do that. And let's book in a follow-up call to make sure you've got all the information you need to make that decision. That's really important. And this is your secret weapon. Remembering to book a follow-up call in before you send the email. And you know what? It means that no longer do you have to worry about ringing and ringing and ringing and them just not picking up the phone. So then the next key is to simply suggest when that would be. So I normally go, I'll get that email out to you today, and then we can follow up with that. Let's see, if I get that out on Wednesday, let's pop a call in for Friday and I can answer any other questions that you might have. At that point, there's two ways to actually book that in. You could either say, is there anybody else who we should have involved with that call? If they say no, brilliant, give them some times. Or you could move straight to giving them times and saying, right, so Friday, would morning or afternoon be better? And if they said afternoon, I would say 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock. I'd just book that down straight away. So email can be an amazing part of your sales process. It's not just for marketing. The trick is to never send an email instead of a conversation and instead use it to support your sales process. So once you're using email to support your sales process, there's a few extra things that you might want to think about. The first thing is to think about keeping it short. The reason for that is that increasingly when people are on their mobiles, you want to decrease the amount of scrolly they've got to do. If they've got to scroll too much, I think, oh goodness, right, I'll come back to this. And similarly, if you send a long email in their inbox, people think, oh, there's a lot here, I'll have to come back and read it when I have time. Guess what? They never have time. So if you have to give a lot of information, quite often it's better to do it on a document or attachment that you can send on that email. The second thing is always remember to reinforce your call to action. So close your emails off with what's going to happen next. Look forward to speaking with you on Friday at 2. And ensure you make it personal. There's absolutely nothing worse than to have invested the time in a really in-depth, personal and meaningful sales conversation only to wreck it by sending some horrible generic email with information in nasty marketing language rather than your own voice, which, let's be honest, is what the person that you're sending it to is used to hearing. So make it personal, make it to the point, and ensure that it reflects the process that you're part of. That's all from me for today. So if you've enjoyed this episode, then remember to hit the button to subscribe and ding the bell to be notified next time I upload. So until then, remember to be sales-tastic.